Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Gun violence is plaguing our nation. And unfortunately, too often, mass shootings are occurring at our educational facilities and our schools. While these shootings are tragic, there have been countless gun legislations proposed and passed that attack mine and your constitutional rights to keep and bear arms. Typically, the weapon of choice for these cowards that are targeting our youth is this right here. This is an AR-15. These can be picked up just about anywhere from $500 up. Now, in the right hands, this is nothing more than a machine, just like a car is. But too often, evil people get a hold of these and they do terrible things. This weapon is capable of firing at roughly 600 rounds a minute. So you can understand how dangerous this can be. These right here are magazines. This is 30 rounds. As you see, it is loaded. This is a drum magazine. This is 50 rounds. You can see that this could potentially be dangerous. Now allow me to show you how simple this weapon is to function. I take this magazine, insert it into the receiver, slap it down, rack it back. This is loaded and ready to fire. But as I mentioned, in the right hands, this is no more than a machine. Now, allow me to unload this just to show you this. It can be quickly reloaded once it's empty. I've just went through 50 rounds and I just reloaded with an additional 30. You can understand the concept. This is a very dangerous weapon. But now it's unloaded and it's back to being nothing more than a machine. As I mentioned, according to CBS News, this thing shoots 600 rounds a minute. Most of our schools are already armed with police officers. They're at every school that my kids attend. But less than 25% of school shootings end with officer involvement, according to everytownresearch.com. No one can argue with me that we have a gun control problem. The question is, and the debate becomes, how do we address this epidemic that's sweeping the nation? According to CHDS.com, California has some of the strictest gun laws in the nation. These things here are banned. Magazines like this do not exist in California legally. However, California's had more than 170 school shootings since 1970. Since 2018, more school shooting incidents have occurred than combined in previous years. Most of these incidents occur at our high schools, and the crimes most of the time are being committed by our own students. Now, obviously, we cannot address this across the nation at home. But our children are at our schools roughly 8 hours a day. We can't control what happens in every household across the nation, but we can control what happens in our schools. According to CNN, in the first 46 weeks this year, 46 weeks, there's 45 school shootings. 86% of these gun shootings are happening in gun-free zones, to include malls and other facilities as well, to include airports, according to the Washington Post. My proposal is very simple, very straightforward, and very argumentative. Arm our educators. We need, as a nation, to arm our teachers. While that seems like a very catastrophic and scary approach, please allow me to explain to you why it's going to work. In order for this to work, we need to do this right. In order for this to work, only volunteers need to do this. As I mentioned, that machine in the wrong hands is terrible. And a part of that, there should be a very in-depth screening process. More in-depth than when you go to get your concealed carry. Mental records need to be pulled from beginning of these teachers and educators' lives to the end. Any flaws, anything that suggests any act of violence has ever occurred or been committed by these people should automatically be disqualified. These screenings will help reduce the number of teacher-related shootings. Yes, teachers do and have committed some of these felonies, but it's less than 1% of the time. I believe we can get these numbers down. In order to do so, we need to have intensive firearms training, covering everything from basic firearm safety to first aid, and as well as combating armed and dangerous suspects in urban terrain. Training should include firearms training, storage of firearms. Storage of these firearms is going to be very important. I predict that's going to be the most argumentative case against my problem, against my proposal to our problem. All these guns need to be kept in locked containers at school, or they need to be kept with trigger locks. They need to be there in the case of the emergency. You can break the glass. Several states already have similar policies on how these procedures or similar procedures have worked. According to McCall.com, 13 states have these policies. And of those 13 states, since passing these laws, Idaho, New Hampshire, South Dakota, and Rhode Island have completely eliminated school shootings. The other 9 have drastically reduced the number of school shootings and casualties. And since passing these legislations, those 13 states only account for 14% of our shootings across the nation. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have the perfect solution. I have a sensible one. I unfortunately regret to inform you, we will not be able to stop these school shootings. But I believe with proper training, documentation, mental screenings, and holding those accountable that bend or break these rules and regs that I'm proposing to you to the utmost extent of the law will drastically change what's happening in and out of our school buildings. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful evening.